Okay, so our third segment of this presentation is we're going to actually go in and compare some older photographs which provenance has shown or people have said to be Josephine Earp, and we can do some comparisons and measurements to find similarities and consistencies or inconsistencies when we compare them to authenticated photos. When Dean Kirschner originally called me to do this project, she gave me several images which were at one point or another were said to be Josephine Earp, and maybe you want to quickly comment on that.
Well, this is where things get really interesting because nobody has an authenticated photograph of Josephine, but all of these have purported to be Josephine at one time or another. This one, for instance, is the one that's currently up on Wikipedia, although perhaps by the time you're seeing this on the internet, it will no longer be up on Wikipedia for reasons that we will discuss. But these are the ones that have been floating around for ages about Josephine.
So I did quick analyses of these and eliminated several of the photographs because of glaring inconsistencies in their faces compared to authenticated photos. I separated them in two sections, one where I would actually do a formal analysis on, and ones which I could eliminate fairly easily. We're going to begin with the analysis of maybe the earliest purported photograph of Josephine Earp, a tintype photograph from about 1877, somewhere between 1877 and 1880. What I did was, it is important when we're doing forensic photo-to-photo comparisons to find a picture of the same angle. And when we have a picture of the same angle, we can then make measurements and do a much easier visual comparison. We got very fortunate in the fact that many of the photographs of Josephine, she takes photographs at this same angle where she turns her head slightly, which actually in itself is a consistency throughout all these photographs. But I think what we can see from this photo-to-photo comparison that the facial expression, the proportion of facial features are quite similar. A consistent lazy right eye, and what I did was I created a ratio based on interpupillary distance. So once we establish a ratio, we set a base ratio between the distance between the eyes, we can then make measurements between critical facial distances, between the nose and the lip, between the lip and the chin, the width of the mouth, the distance between the corner of the eye, the corner of the mouth and the eye, and the distance between the pupil and the eyebrow. I also circled here because we see a similarity in the shape of the ear, and as I noted before, ears are a facial feature which tend to remain identical throughout age. It's one of the few facial features that actually remain unchanged, and we see a similarity in her ear. So I wanted to highlight this. So what I did was I created ratios and I made measurements here, and these measurements were 100% match except for mouth width and the mouth to the inner eye, which were 91 or 92% accurate. The rest were 100% spot on. And this is obviously for someone who had aged at maybe 40 or 50 years at this point between photographs. I think this is these are very high numbers as far as similarity. So, I think these measurements strongly suggest that this could be the same person. Just to give an idea of how measurements are not equal, when I inserted I found a Jewish female, and I took a picture of her at the same angle and I made the same measurements. Her measurements ranged from 63% to 91%. None reached the 100% ratio like we saw in the first measurement. I just wanted to give sort of an indication for Dean Kirschner, like this, it's not easy to get 100% match. When we do these measurements, our little stand-in here proves as such. Eyebrow shape consistent. Nose shape consistency. Right. So I think, after measuring, after making some observations, I think there is a strong possibility based on this photo comparison that this photo is Josephine Earp. But we're going to talk about that in final analysis as well.